no, this is going to be an overshare, but I was just thinking when I was buying the Ferrari, I had a gap. It was quite a big gap from what I owed on the GT, and I wanted to get cleanly out of the GT, so I didn't want to bring any negative finance into the 458 at all, and I don't do that with cars. I owned the GT for a short amount of time. I was going to be punished, and I'm being really honest about this. When you get out of one supercar into another supercar, because I'm not buying it with cash, I'm using a level of finance, there's always a level of hurt. It's just the way it is. I remember the salesman said to me, I said, man, the gap is too big. Like, it's just so, it's really big. And the salesman was really good. He said, do you go on overseas holidays? And I said, yeah. He said, how many do you go on? And I said, oh, maybe 3 or 4 a year. He said, you fly business class? And I said, yeah, most of the time. If it's an international one, generally we try to. And he said, so you fly business class, you might travel for 2 or 3 weeks. We looked at the cost of what all that came to, and let's just say it's. And then we talked about the gap. He said, man, it's a holiday. Just, you don't have a holiday. And he said, you get the car. And I thought, he's right. It's a done deal. Where do I sign? And he said, like a holiday, it's slowly, the memory's going to drift away. He said, the Ferrari is forever. And I thought, man, you're right. I'm going to buy the Ferrari. Where do I sign? Hi, my name's Daniel Hayes, and today I'm going to talk about what it's been like owning the supercar Ferrari 458 Italia, 2013 model, 560, sorry, 500, Jesus, okay, 562, 562 brake horsepower, about 425 kilowatts. Now listen, I traded this car on my old car, which was an R8GT 2012 model. Now that is no lightweight, that is a supercar, very, very similar specs to this. Probably the only difference is I had the Spider model, which was a bit heavier. Now the Ferrari comes in about 1,450 kilograms. The R8GT, the Audi R8GT Spider came in about 1,550 to 1,600 kilograms. I'm not sure of the exact weight, but it's somewhere there. And again, 560 brake horsepower, very similar. Now the Ferrari 0 to 100 time on paper is 3.3 seconds. The R8GT model was 3.6 seconds. So very, very similar. The Ferrari has 540 Newton meters of torque. The R8GT has the same 540 Newton meters of torque. So the quarter mile times for the Ferrari is 10.8 seconds. The quarter mile time, now this is a bit of a difference, for the R8GT is 11.5 or somewhere in that vicinity. So nearly a second difference, which in a quarter mile, that's a lot. That's a big difference. The top speed of the Ferrari is 325 kilometers an hour, and the top speed of the Audi GT is about 312 kilometers an hour. Not that you're ever going to really do that speed. But before I go into my opinion on the two cars, I just want to talk about owning supercars, and I just want to take you back to growing up as a kid and my dream as a person. And I'm a car nut. I mean, I love cars. I see a car in the street, I see the curves, I see the shape, I want to know what motor's in it, I want to know modifications, I want to know what rims are on it. I love the history of motorsport, and as a kid, and there's a picture here that you can see, that's a picture of me at the age of 16, and I drew a Porsche, and I used to draw cars. And with my pocket money at about the age of 12 or 13, I used to buy a magazine called Unique Cars, and I used to play a game, and I'd look at a page, and a game I used to play, and I remember it like yesterday. The game was, if I had $20,000, what car would I buy on the page? And never, ever, ever in my wildest dreams did I think talking about a Ferrari that I owned. So it's surreal for me. So I've always, one of my first cars was a Fiat X19, which is a little Fiat convertible, not mechanically reliable, let me assure you of that, and certainly no race car, but I think I bought that one as about 2021, maybe 19. I was young. And I don't know how many cars I've owned, 50, 60, 70, 80, a lot. But probably the last two cars I've owned Porsches, but the last two cars, the R8GT, the Audi R8GT, and this incredible Ferrari 458, have, for me, probably been two of the pinnacle cars that I've ever driven. I'm just gonna say this, so when I bought the Audi R8 GT, I never planned that day to go and buy that particular car. I actually was looking at an Aston Martin V12, and the salesperson said, drive the Audi. I just gotta say, it was bloody phenomenal. I'm kid you not. It was like it was on rails. And I don't know the difference between a normal Audi R8 V10 and the Audi R8 GT. I know what it is on paper. I know that it's lighter. I know it's got a little bit more brake horsepower. I know it's lowered a little bit more. It's the suspension is a set suspension. You know, I know it's got more carbon fiber. You know, I know things like the windscreen is thinner. The carpets are thinner. You know, they've done everything. They've stripped about 100 kilos of weight off it. So it's a fast car, but I have to say the Audi R8 GT is an absolute supercar in my view. But I haven't driven many supercars, but with my limited experience. For some people, a car's just a car, but for me, I guess I see it as a work of art. I look at this 458 and I look at the design team and the hours that went into this car. I mean, I think the 458 Italia, in my opinion, is one of the most beautiful looking cars that's ever been made. And this is the last of the naturally aspirated V8 models. So for me to have one or get in, I feel that instead of losing 250 grand in 3 years time, I might only lose 100 grand. You know, people want to know, people have asked me, you know, Danny, how does the Ferrari, people have said, Danny, how does the Ferrari compared to the R8 GT? And people have said to me, oh, the Ferrari, you know, it's in another league or it's at another level. Well, it's not. I'm going to be really honest about that. It's not. I've only driven the Ferrari for 2 weeks. I've put, you know, over 2,000 Ks on it. I haven't tracked it yet. I will do one track day with it, but there's not a massive difference. However, I'm not a mechanical engineer, and I'm just, I guess, your layperson that is into supercars. In regards to torque, the two cars are identical on paper, and I think it's similar. It's hard to pick the difference. What's really noticeable is that the GT was a single clutch gear change, and it would snap your neck back and then pull you forward. The Ferrari is lightning quick. It's a double clutch system, so it's very quick. And my exhaust at the moment is a stock exhaust. It's had the valves open, so it still sounds pretty good. But the Audi R8 GT had an aftermarket titanium exhaust on it. It had no cats in it, so when you started it, it was like a bomb going off. And if I was to boot it, say, in the Burnley Tunnel, it would really take off, and it was very loud. It was really loud. Anybody that knows me or knows that particular car that I had, that exhaust system was incredible. So in regards to the car itself, the reason why I'm putting on an exhaust into the car is because, I don't know where I was going with that. I was going somewhere. Okay, the exhaust. So I'm getting an exhaust fitted to this, a K-line or Klein exhaust. I've ordered it, it's being Klein exhaust. I've ordered it, it's being made in Romania. And what I'm after is that full racing F1 high-pitched whine that the Ferrari is known for. So until I get that, I know what I was talking about now in regards to in regards to theatrics. So in my view, being in a supercar is almost theatre. It should be a theatrical experience, particularly when you put the foot down and the car kicks back. If you're in auto, you're probably going to be manual, but if you drop it down a couple of gears, it should snap you back and it should be theatre. Now, the Ferrari 458 has that, make no mistake, but the difference is with the Audi R8, single clutch, much louder exhaust, no roof on, it would snap your neck back. It was more theatrical than this car. This car is a little more, and it is more refined. The interior is much better, it's more top end, it's got much better tech in it than the R8 GT 2012 model, and Ferrari, in my view, have really nailed it on the inside of the car. I'll tell you something though that I find a little bit annoying with this car, and again, I'm only 2 weeks into the car, so don't crucify me too much. I'm not a car reviewer, I'm just a normal person that's into cars. But I'll tell you this, if I was in auto, and let's say I was sitting on, you know, let's just say 100 Ks for example, and the car was in fourth, if I was to put my foot down, it would drop all the way down, it would drop down to second and put me really in that high rev range of around 7,000, so I could really get the power band from say 7 to 9,000 revs and the car would scream. In the Ferrari, when I'm in auto, in race mode, and I'm in race mode, I put my foot down. It doesn't, in my view, it won't quite kick down to second. It'll go down to third sometimes. So it drops you, and I don't know if it's in the right range, but I don't feel that real neck snapping pullback that I had in the R8GT. Now listen, they're just a couple of little minor things in regards to the two cars. Also, when I've taken some corners in the Ferrari, and this is only because it's a new car for me, I have felt the back end twitch a bit, so I don't know the limitations of this car, so I'm driving it carefully, not like an idiot. However, in the R8GT, being a quattro system, so again, very different drive trains, but being a quattro system, all four wheels on I just felt this absolute confidence. The suspension in the Audi R8GT, in my opinion, is rock solid. There's no settings on it, there's no modes, it's just, and I like that. And the steering on the R8GT was very, very direct, very, very pinpoint. The steering on the Ferrari is exactly the same. To compare the two, it's just that I can notice that this is a rear wheel drive car, and the power just feels different. And obviously, the obvious reasons. Comparing the two cars, the Ferrari, in regards to swagger or street appeal or people looking at the car, this car is in its own league. I've never had people pay so much attention to a car. You can't do anything in this car illegal. You have to obey the speed limit because everybody's videoing you or taking photos. There's not many Italias around. The car is incredibly stylish, and it's backed up by a powerful motor. It is surreal driving the car because it's a Ferrari, and no matter how you say that, you sort of, someone could say, well, what car do you drive? You can't sort of play it down. It's a Ferrari. The name is synonymous with motorsport, the pinnacle. How did I come to buy this 458? Well, I've owned it for 2 weeks, and I thought about 4 weeks ago, I want to get out of the GT. For me, I didn't know whether to get into a Lamborghini, and I looked at McLarens. I thought I knew what my price range was, and of course I went above that. That always happens. I don't know if there's a thing called Ferrari fever, but I just got fixated. I put a post on Facebook about 2 years ago that's saying in 2 years' time I'm going to have a Ferrari Italia, and I forgot all about that post, and then somebody recently showed me that post again, so that was bizarre. I just thought if I could trade my car, if someone could give me reasonable money, which I didn't get, I'll trade it on the Ferrari. And what happened was that reasonable money for the R8GT just came down and down and down, and I found some money. I didn't find some money, I had some money. And I thought, I'll look for a car. I want low kilometers. I'd like a 213 model. I wanted white, and I love the rims on this car. So the car appeared, it was in Adelaide. I went and looked at it. It had done 15,700 kilometers on it. It's got a year left of its full warranty. It's got free servicing till 2020. And I thought, let's do a deal. And we did a deal, and I got the car. So it was all very impulsive, but I just know that if I didn't, anyone that knows me, I say I got to own a Ferrari in my lifetime. The repayments are ridiculous, but for me, it's a real pinnacle moment. And it's funny, you put this stuff on Facebook, like I put a picture of the car and people say congratulations and all this stuff. I don't get that. I don't want to be congratulated for owning a Ferrari because there's so much more you could do with the money that you pay for an extremity like this. So I don't really want to be congratulated, and I could do other things with the money. It's ridiculous. My accountant advised me not to do it, and I generally don't listen to him, so I don't know if that's going to be a good long-term strategy. And another reason why I got the Ferrari is because I've just turned 45. I gave up drinking and drugging when I was 19. I got sent to long-term rehab, so I don't waste any money I don't take any alcohol or haven't had any drugs for over coming up 26 years. Getting clean and sober at the age of 19 and living inside of the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous like I've done, and anyone that knows me close knows that I'm a bit of a staunch AA member. I just think that, the rewards of sobriety for me has been to be able to just do crazy shit and buy stuff like this. I just got to say the finish on this car is spot on. Like the interior, it's just amazing. It's just so clean cut. The stitching is perfect. I mean, you can feel the quality of the Italian car. It's really, for me, the next level, and I don't know where you go to from a Ferrari, but I just think that this car is not going to age at all for a long, long time. I look at the 360s and the 430s, that they're still a clean line, great looking Ferrari. I just think that they nailed it with the 458. Is owning a Ferrari Is it a status thing? Is it an ego trip? Is it a big wank? Is it, you know, look at me, I've made it in life? Am I compensating for something? I mean, these are all things that people ask. For me, I don't think it's any of those things. I was just a kid that has always loved cars and learning that you live one life. So I work hard in real estate. You know, I did 5 or 6 years, 100-hour weeks. I've had no rich parents, humble parents. My mum was a process worker. My dad worked at Ford's. Just a year 10 education, no degrees, and went into real estate, and I never knew that I was a good salesperson. I'm living my life on my terms because you only get one. I just think you've got to live the dream today because you don't know what tomorrow brings. You know, that's just a bit about my life. That's my view on the new Ferrari. I'm incredibly excited. You know, in wrapping up, the message is you don't have to be a rocket surgeon to own a Ferrari. You've just got to find out what you're good at and go do it. And I guess I'm lucky that real estate for me is a great financially paying job. I'm in the trenches every day, overseeing the 4 real estate offices that me and Michelle Winkle own with our fellow directors. You know, it's just an exciting time to be alive. It's an exciting time for... And I'm just waffling on, but I think I'll end it right there.